Good evening, everyone all over the world, and welcome to the SimGrid launch party. This is the launch of the SimGrid website, www.simgrid.com. We are on board with a man heavily involved in SimGrid, Mr. David Perel, my brethren from the country of South Africa, a well-known sim racer, YouTuber, blogger, and a man who's just returned from the Ferrari factory in Maranello and competed in the virtual Le Mans. So we ride on board with him here in Suzuka. This will be a 90-minute race. You are on board with us watching the qualifying with only 13 minutes and 43 seconds left to go. But this is the 90 minutes at Suzuka for the SimGrid launch party. My name is Carl Lawrence, and I will be your voice for this evening. I'm joined by my broadcaster and possibly a man who's going to help me ease my voice a bit throughout this race, Michael Hamlet. And we will be with you all through the 90 minutes of this event. But without further ado, let's talk about on-track racing, on-track action. More than 40 drivers on the grid for this event, so the track is going to be jam-packed. Finding yourself any sort of space on this track is going to be a difficult thing to do. So the drivers need to try and find themselves some free space. I don't see anybody doing it at the moment as we stay affixed to that car of David Perel. David Perel now heading into that towards that infamous chicane. We saw Edson Senna and Mr. Prost have a moment going in here. Hopefully we don't see well, as I speak about the moment going into the chicane, there it is, the traffic jam. Looks like everybody's on their way to work in the morning, more than a racetrack. It looks like a highway anywhere during peak rush hour traffic. As everybody's looking to try and get some clear air and some clear space, they all back it off, try and find themselves a little bit of a gap on circuit so they can set a decent lap time. These tires do take a couple of laps to warm up, so you don't want to end up right behind someone on the first lap. You know, you want to give yourself a decent amount of space while still trying to maintain some slip. David done quite well there to keep a gap, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Driver in front of him, Vaslikos there, driver in front of him. But, it's difficult to know who these drivers are in terms of, as me as a commentator, but I'm sure for the drivers as well, a lot of names they don't know, so they're not entirely sure who will be on pace and who won't be. But these 2-3 laps for these GT cars to get up to temperature in terms of tires and brakes and that, so it's going to be difficult for everyone to get a clear lap on this tight and twisty Suzuka circuit as they head through the very, very technical first sector before heading into the long, fast second and third sector. So, still on board with David Perel there. He's down in 21st position, but that is as he left the pits. No one has set a lap time yet. Good mixture of cars throughout the field there. We see Ferraris, BMWs, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, McLarens, Audis, Bentleys, and Aston Martins. So every single brand is represented here on the grid at SimGrid. The SimGrid launch party 90-minute race here at Suzuka. Quick mention, I must say, we do have some of the developers from Kunos joining us tonight, and as I said, there we are on board with Aris. That is what he is known as you can see with the name there. My South African brain is not going to try and attempt that. I don't want to butcher it for you, Aris. So Aris, a Kunos game developer, he's very involved with the physics of this game. He's chosen himself the BMW to compete in tonight in this SimGrid launch party. So Aris with BMW Team Schnitzer, he's obviously just chosen the generic car and skin there. Currently sitting in second position. He hasn't finished a lap yet, so we're just waiting for him to hit a lap there and we can see what he's up to. Crosses the line now, he's in 20th place. He moves himself up to 16th, 18th, 19th. So he's just going to keep dropping there as more and more people come across the line. A lot of drivers only heading out onto the track now. On board with Sean Moriarty. We've seen Moriarty from America. Bulldog Racing Team, this time in a Porsche. We saw him last week in the Super Trofeo Championship, doing quite well there. But coming into turn one and into traffic, he's had to stand on the brakes while turning the steering wheel. And unfortunately, the Porsche does not like that, son. Please exit circuit stage left. Christian Bianchi is another driver we're on board now with from Race Line Motorsport, the Italian. Fastest lap so far, 1:59, and that puts him up into 6th place. Only 0.5 off the pace, but all the way down in 6th. So the times are very, very close at the moment. Peter Henringberg, the man from, I believe that's Norway. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, Denmark. Man from Denmark. Bianchi just pulling over there. Nick Babin. I've known his name from karting, and Chris Hooker in the Lamborghini we just switched to now. Last lap was a 2-minute 0.2. Let's see what he can get down to now. Doesn't go any faster, so he actually went 1.2, well, a full second slower there. So no improvement for him there. Still sitting in 9th place, 0.9 off pole position. Just behind him, Alaric Enslin, another driver from South Africa, winner of the Solidarity E-Race recently in South Africa. He's down in 10th place. 8 minutes still left to go. Harry Spears pulls over to obviously eject themselves back to the pits. Andy Bowman down in 18th, moves himself up to 16th with a 2-minute 0.8. So the times are very, very close together. If you look there from 1st to 11th, only separated by a second. Ryan Meenan, Killian there, a name I know from, again, the previous race in Super Trofeo. Andy Boardman as well, also competed in the Super Trofeo Cup recently, doing very, very well. Still sporting in that dark green livery. This time he's decided to add a bit of yellow to it. So Andy Boardman racing without a team name this time. But the livery is still very, very similar, so I'll be able to spot Andy from a mile away as I'm kind of getting used to that. But this time in the Aston Martin, he has chosen to stick to his beloved Aston Martin for this event. These circuits do suit certain cars. The developers of the game at Kunos made sure that certain circuits do suit certain cars, but also certain drivers suit certain cars. It's quite a mouthful I try to get out there, but I think I managed to do it. Boris the Spree there in the TX3 virtual, for driving for TX3 virtual drivers in a very, very bright green and blue livery there. He's currently in 10th place. As we drop further down the grid to 22nd with Gergo Panka, also from Italy. Hungarian developer for Kunos. So it's also one of the Kunos developers that is involved in the creation of this simulator. And I must say, mighty fine job to all of those at Kunos for developing this for us. I must say, as a racing driver myself and done a bit of racing in ACC, I am blown away by the realism. I, in fact, still get butterflies when I sit on the grid. But Gogo Panko is going down in 22nd place from FFS Racing. I'm not going to assume what FFS stands for. I'm going to leave that to your imagination. But here we are with Gregor Skill from Coach Dave Academy. Coach Dave, also better known as David Perel in South Africa. And this is obviously one of his students, or one of his drivers in Coach Dave Academy. Gregor Skill, or 111. Or it could be Shill. I could be wrong. So James Parker and OT joined Gregor in doing a lot of the testing on the setups for the Coach Dave Academy. If you go onto Coach Dave's website, you'll be able to purchase setups for ACC for the various cars. He's got setup packs as well as individual setups for each track and each car. So Gregor very involved in the setups, and I use a lot of Coach Dave setups myself to try and better my driving ability in the sim world. Unfortunately, setups don't make you a better driver, they just make your car handle better. So someone didn't tell me that when I went and got myself all the setups. Jardia from Jardia Community Team. He is a YouTube streamer. You'll know if you are a follower of YouTube streams in e-sports and e-racing, you'll know his name. He is currently in second place, only 0.4 off the pace. He was in pole. He's just dropped down to second, beaten by Kevin Sakari. Some of these names I'm going to have to get my tongue around, but I'll get there now. Cormac Ryan Meaden. Cormac, we know you from Super Trofeo as well. He competed recently in the Super Trofeo. Was very quick at the last round. Down in 29th place, my racing number, but unfortunately not a place I'm sure he wants to be. He wants to move his way up. His brother Killian also in the field. Cormac Racing with Cormac GP is his team name in car number 12 there, the Aston Martin. So the Aston Martin, very, very popular here in this event at Suzuka, the 90 minutes of Suzuka. Cormac, 2.2 seconds on the pace on a circuit where a lap is 2 minutes long. That isn't all that much of time, all that big of a gap, sorry, should I say, but it drops you all the way down to 29th on the grid. So this field is very, very competitive and very, very quick, and it's exactly what we wanted for the launch party of SimGrid. Guys, if you are watching the stream online, please go have a look at simgrid.com and register yourself, get involved and get racing with us. It is something that we are striving to do. We want to bring the amateurs closer to these guys and hopefully help you along the way. But there is our current pole sitter sitting in the pits as we scroll back into the on-track racing. Darren King from Fordzilla. Weird that his name is Fordzilla, yet he drives an AMG, or however there are no Fords in here. So Fordzilla is the name of his team, currently in an AMG. 159.4 puts him down in 4th place. So I think the top 10 is going to be quite a mess as we head into the start of this race. If we have a look at now at this circuit, seems I did mention earlier that some circuits are suited to some cars. And as we look at the grid, it seems that Mercedes AMG is the car for this track, with the top 5 all being of that make. We're on board now with David Perel all the way down in 18th place. Coach Dave not having it all his own way, racing under the Rinaldi Racing banner, a team that he races for in real world. Unfortunately, not a lot of that racing going on at the moment, but Coach Dave has just arrived back from Maranello. The jet setter set himself all the way to Maranello to go and compete in the virtual Le Mans. And we did he has been on quite a few interviews and a few shows lately to discuss that experience. So, but at the moment, Coach Dave down in 18th place, looking for 1.5 seconds to get himself up to the front. But hopefully we'll see him in the top 10 soon. This is quite an interesting part of the circuit, this off-cambered double right-hander. But this is my favorite part of the circuit, the blind right-hander, hard on the brakes into the left. There you can see it's actually a blind right, hard on the brakes into the left. Get the car stopped, turned, and hard on the gas to propel yourself down this long straight and towards some very, very intricate and very, very technical last part of the circuit. So this is all quite flat out, and this is probably where the AMGs are finding all their time. They can be, they are known to be quite quick in a straight line. All the AMGs in this game, though, are running or most of them are running very close to their silver livery. I don't see anybody running the new Mercedes-Benz AMG Petronas black livery that will be put on all the Formula 1 cars going into Austria on Sunday. So they'll all be running black for the first Grand Prix of the year. But on board now with David Perel all the way down in 20th place, 333. It's a number I used to look at on the back of a go-kart quite often when David used to pretty much win every race in Cape Town in front of me. So I do know that number quite well, but hopefully David Perel moves himself further up the grid. Currently down in 20th place. He crosses the line now, and he can only best it by another 0.3, putting himself down in 15th place. David is, however, driving with a slipped disc in his back, so probably taking a bit of strain at the moment. On board now, James Parker, Coach Dave Academy, one of the drivers that does a lot of the setups for Coach Dave, on pole position in the Mercedes-Benz AMG. So we know that setup on that car is right. As we scroll further down the grid now to have a look at Zachary Royal, a driver from Great Britain, Side Mats Motorworks, the company we at SimGrid know quite well. They have he doesn't improve, unfortunately, and stays quite well down at the pack. Scrolling through the pack quickly now, we're trying to get back onto some on-track racing. It is quite difficult to swap between drivers on this field possible. So unfortunately we have a bit of a technical issue. The broadcasting tool we use to swap between drivers is unfortunately crashed, so we're using a keyboard, so we do have to jump between cars quite erratically. It will be sorted out before the start of the race. But as we ride on board now with Andy Boardman down in 22nd, that brings to a close qualifying for the official launch party of simgrid.com, and this is the results for qualifying. Top 4 cars, all Mercedes-Benz AMG. It's Jay Parker, Sakari, King, Hunzik, Martinez, Spears, Bianchi, Desprez, Franca, El Hadid, Verdi, and the Killian Ryan Meenan down in 12th. Nick Babham in 13th, Hooker in 14th, and Galzeta in 15th. David Perel all the way down in 16th place in his Ferrari 488 GT3. So the Ferraris are not as well suited to Suzuka as Perel would have hoped, but unfortunately it is what it is. Right, we're just going to be resetting our broadcast tools and that quickly before we head to the start of the race, I'm sure. So we'll see you shortly, possibly about 1 minute, and we'll be back and ready for the start of the 90-minute race here at the SimGrid launch party. And we are back for the start of this 90-minute race here at Suzuka for the SimGrid launch party. Joining me in the virtual commentary booth is Michael Hamlet. Michael is very much involved in SimGrid. Michael, before we get to start and with the formation lap, just give me a quick roundabout or an overview of what is SimGrid and what is your plans going forward with SimGrid.com.
Well, hello, Carl. We have great plans for the SimGrid. Our main vision, if you will, is that we want to be the home for sim racers of all pace and all ability. Our focus is entirely on the sim racer, whether it be the casual sim racer, the pro sim racer. We want to help everyone improve and get to where they want to be in their sim racing careers.
So obviously, Dave Perel also very much heavily involved in that, and when you come to the development of drivers and development of sim drivers, esports obviously taking a massive leap forward since the various lockdowns that happened all over the world as we get started with the formation lap. So SimGrid, we just want to create a home for every SimGrid racer, be it of alien pace or that of us standard human beings, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I think it can be quite hard in some places for maybe the less experienced driver, slower driver. Sometimes they can feel that they can't get into anything. We want to offer them a place where they can come and race, whether it be in leagues or just one singular race events, such as a race like tonight. We have two splits tonight. We have this split one, which we're covering, which is full of some game devs, David Perel, various other esports and very quick talented drivers, and we've got another split which has got a whole range of ability. Quick drivers, stomach drivers, new drivers, experienced drivers. It's a place where everyone can come together.
So basically just a space where everybody feel at home and comfortable regardless of where they start. It can be quite daunting to get involved in some racing, especially when you join a circuit in qualifying and you see the names like Sakari, a multiple 12-hour winner in various categories or various lobbies, with PPR and GZR. So he's won quite a few 12 hours, a bit of an endurance legend himself. Then you've got Jay Parker, who is a developer of all the setups used, or a lot of the setups used by Coach Dave. So a lot of big names here. I mean, I see some from our country, Alaric Enslin. When I see him join a lobby, I know I might as well just, go down to AM as opposed to Pro-Am rather than come join him in Pro-Am. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Quite a long lap here at Suzuka. I haven't done any laps here myself, but Michael, you're quite involved in sim racing. Is it a circuit you've driven a lot?
Not actually in ACC, not that much. I've driven Suzuka a lot in the Formula 1 games, but since it's my racing in ACC is limited these days. But it's a fantastic track to drive on. It's a really great track to drive on, Suzuka. I'm a big fan of it. I should probably spend some more time on it, to be honest with you.
Well, my experience in endurance racing is minimal. Do you expect a lot of moving and shaking going on through the field in the opening laps, or do you think everybody will just settle down into a rhythm and realize it's 90 minutes, stay safe, stay on the track, and stay together?
There's a lot of experienced drivers in here. I should expect them to get into a rhythm as soon as possible and let their pace do the talking.
Yeah, it was actually quite nice to see them back it off and slow it down here through the chicane to give themselves some breathing room. I also see very little movement around. I mean, normally in the lower series that I race and locally in my home country, you see the guys moving around quite a bit, and a lot of guys just speed out the pits flat out to go try and get an empty circuit. So it was nice to see the professionalism that I'm used to from racing in real world brought over and see it on my screen here in sim racing. I almost feel like I'm watching an actual 90-minute of Suzuka. So it's always quite nice to be exposed to something like this on an international level. So I am looking forward to the start of the race. And as I mentioned that, they're all bunching up side by side through the chicane here at Suzuka. This can be quite tricky. But as you said, these are all experienced drivers. So they will move up into their boxes to maintain a steady pace before the lights go out. We are heading down the main straight. On pole is Sakari. He stole it from Jay Parker right at the end of qualifying. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going into turn one. They are all ready to go, sitting at their 80 k's an hour before the lights go green. I don't have a shot of the green lights, but I'm sure I'll know when they get going, when they hit the hammer down. Those five Mercedes-Benz AMGs there. No, I was right the first time. It's 4 in the top 4. They're on the gas. The race has started. Sakari gets a great start. He does start moving over, but there's a lot of movement behind him. It looks like we could be looking at a bit of a three-way into one there. Everybody kind of backing out of it, that it stays safe. Oh, it looks like two Porsches, or the BM and the Porsche trying to go side by side around the Mercedes through turn one. But somehow, everybody's managed to make it through turn one without any issues, which was with 44 cars, as I say that, one car off in the grass. There comes our commentator's curse again. We go back to see David Perel come around the outside of 2 or 3 cars, and then obviously outside, getting him inside to the left-hander. So much movement going on here throughout the field. It's difficult to pick a point to talk about. On board now with David Perel. This is a great view. You can see how much movement is going on. Lamborghini there trying to get up the inside. That's Hooker trying to get up the inside of Babin. Wow, a lot of movement going through. So names are chopping and changing and splitting. I don't know who it is, but definitely Hooker in that Lamborghini trying to get himself up the inside of Al Hadid. But Perel just backing off there, rather than finish 90 minutes and try and end your race in lap 1. So everybody kind of standing line astern at the moment. There is a bit of movement as we get on the brakes into the hairpin, but I think that's more avoidance than trying to make a move. Oh, contact there with the Lexus. Lexus turned around facing the wrong way. Can't quite see who that is. We're on Zach Royal, unfortunately, getting it a little bit wrong going into the hairpin, dropping himself all the way down from inside the top 20 to 26th. These are a couple of the drivers that were taken out in lap 1. It's Burrows, Bacon, and Galzetta. Unfortunately, they had a bit of a coming together. Oh, sorry. No, they were just further down the field than they should have been. On board now with Parker, chasing down that of Sakari. I think they're very similar pace, these two drivers, so I'm sure they can stay quite close together throughout this race. We see Sakari using a lot more curb and a lot more track. He has paid his entry. He has paid to use the whole circuit. He might as well while he's at it. But Linus Stern now in the front, dropping back now to Schill in the matte black Ferrari. He's up into 8th place, 0.7 off the leader after the end of the first lap. But a bit of a mix of cars now, as we see a BMW, a Porsche, and a Ferrari join the train of Mercedes AMG cars in the front. Driver off to the right-hand side there, one off to the left. So a little bit of a skirmish going on, or squabble going on through the hairpin. But Hooker, we saw him up in 15th place. He's dropped all the way down to 38th. So obviously something going on there for him into the more intricate part of the circuit. On board now with Perel up in 16th place, with a whole host of cars behind him. Almost looks like he's leading a bit of a traffic jam at the moment, trying to get past Arnold in the other Ferrari. Lead Ferrari currently in 8th place. So Perel needs to get a move on there to get himself up into the top 10, but he's under massive pressure now from it looks like to me to be Arnold. So Perel obviously, contact there for a driver. So Van der Woede getting hit off there in the Lamborghini, the bright pink Lamborghini. That's probably why I was able to see it out the corner. More contact for him, unfortunately, as he tries to rejoin the circuit. So a bit of a mess on the first opening laps, especially lower down the field. But this is where the mess starts, as all the different braking points come to light into the hairpin for all the different cars that are on the grid. Aston Martin going wide there and around the outside of Van der Woede. So hopefully no damage for Van der Woede, and he can continue without having to pit. On board now with Schill in that matte black Ferrari. Comfortably sitting in 8th place. He is losing about 2/10 a lap to the leader. But over 90 minutes, anything can happen. These tyres all degrade at different rates for all these different manufacturers. And possibly one of the worst at it is the Mercedes-Benz AMG. So contact into the chicane there. Driver just getting a little bit too excited in the braking points, but I can see why. There is a rather ominous looking BMW of Martinez hunting down that of Spears. We're on board with Spears now. We look back through his wing at that BMW. You can see the straight line speed of the Merc heading down into turn 1. Is he going to have a move on Honzik into turn 1? No, he decides better out of it. Not much of a passing opportunity down there. He's able to stay just Linus Stern behind him there, keep it neat and tidy. Don't want to make any mistakes this early on in the race. On board now with Arnold, still chasing down that of David Perel. David seems to have set it into a bit of a rhythm and pulled a bit of a gap there on Arnold. Or is it because Arnold is taking massive pressure from that rather sexy Lexus? And there it is. Unfortunately, the view of that good-looking front end causing him to just run a bit wide, grass all over his tires, and he can't seem to get on the power, and then contact forces him wide as well. So what looked like he was losing one place for running wide, he's going to lose two, and if he's not careful, he's going to make even more contact with the Aston Martin there on his right-hand side through the long sweeping left. The next corner is a right-hander, so he's going to lose another place. Unfortunately running wide. So Josh Martin getting past him and making sure he runs out of the road on the outside there. So Arnold going from 16th place on the grid all the way down to, it looks like, behind Alaric Enslin, the other South African driver in this field, right down in 24th place. So losing loads of places there. On board now with Tavina. The only Honda I've seen, big contact there. Missed all of that. Chris Hoker having a shocker of a race. He was up inside the top 15. He's now all the way down in 34th, and has probably lost more places to that spin. Gagler cars in front of him, so some places can be made back for him. But I think maybe just a little bit excited for this 90-minute race, and just making a couple of errors, unforced errors, on board now with the McLaren of Yee. Car number 10 there, Yee. He's in a bit of a battle at the moment with the Aston Martin of Burrows. Burrows was quite a bit further out the field, made a mistake into the chicane 2 laps ago, and has dropped right down into 39th place or 40th place. And he is looking for Burrows is now up to 37th. Sorry, the names moved quite quickly for me here. So that is Mazonis. I did see him over to the right hand side hugging the pit wall after the end of the first lap. So he obviously dropped down the field and is trying to move his way back up. On board now with Parker. What was a two-car train for the lead is now a 3-car train with King joining the party. But one thing I do know about these Mercs is they're not as kind to their tires as some of the other manufacturers. So we might see them pull away early on in this 90-minute race, but that could all change towards the end of this event with just over an hour and 20 minutes left to run. So all of these cars have to make a mandatory pit stop. I've just been told by Michael here in my ear. All of these cars do have to make a mandatory pit stop. However, they have to put in fuel. They don't have to change tires. So if your car is good on tires, you can save some time in the pits by not having to change. But due to the fact that you have to refuel, you'd be silly not to put on a fresh set of boots, especially if you're going to pit within the first 30 minutes. So we might see the cars that aren't as great on their tires pitting a little bit earlier than those that are, or those that aren't as great on the tires will be running as long as they can on a set of tires before putting on a new set of boots. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. On board now with Gregor Schill, he is being chased down quite hard by Dupree in that Aston Martin, breathing all the way down his neck. And then behind him, another Honda. So there are a couple of Hondas in this field. That Honda driven by Franke, number 321. Gaps are very, very close throughout this field. Very few are over a second. Although having a look at the front, the top three are starting to run away a bit with a 1.2 second lead on the driver behind them. Big moves and shaking going on here further down the field, 19th and 20th. We're going to go 3 abreast into turn 1. 3 into 1 doesn't go, boys. I know, I did math at school. So this is going to be a difficult one to get done. They all seem to fan back in. Clearly, some people are listening to me on the comms. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. Let's keep it neat and tidy. Let's not see any cars in the wall this early on in the race. With 1 hour and 21 minutes still left to go, I didn't think 3 into 1 was going to end successfully there. But luckily, all of those drivers decided against it and managed to keep themselves on the circuit for the remainder of this, the SimGrid launch party 90-minute race at Suzuka. Andy Boardman, we know he can be quite fast. Front runner in the recent Super Trofeo mini-series. He is being chased down by a Cormac, also a front runner in the Super Trofeo mini-series. So this dice continued from the last round of that event. And it was a dice that continued throughout the race as we watch Andy Boardman run slightly right to the double right. Andy Boardman now just in front of a Cormac there. So Andy running slightly wide, Cormac getting right up to the back of him, but unable to do anything about it. Both of them in evenly matched Aston Martins. The slipstream does seem quite intrusive here at Suzuka. So it does seem quite intense. Cars are able to pull up right behind each other in the slip. So 3 cars will be quicker than 1. So hopefully we'll see a couple of groups merge into more than just 3 or 4 cars throughout the race. But I do expect it to start calming down as we're on with Declan Barler. He is remembering Rob. That is the name of his team. Obviously remembering someone that's near and dear to him. On board now with Sebastian Handler, also a driver we know from the Super Trofeo Cup. He is in a Bentley driving for Graphics Engineering. Looking behind that wing, it's quite a scary sight. I'm sure you've seen that in his mirrors. The Lamborghini right up behind him, looking to go inside for the chicane. But Sebastian holding it. Oh no, he's allowed. Sorry, I thought we were at the chicane. That's a long sweeping left-hander. He's allowed the Lamborghini through. Are they going to go 3 into 1 into the chicane? No, they think better of it. Handler taking the inside line there ahead of. Very, very clever driving, but it does seem that one driver has made a position further back there as well from that mess going into the chicane. They all decided to back off it there. We'll live to fight another day. It's 90 minutes long. You know, we've got an hour and 20 minutes still to go, so we want to try and stay on the circuit for that duration. Any mistake now could cost you dearly for the remainder of the race. David Martinez, a Colombian driver there. I believe that is the Colombian flag. From a race for Cat Motorsports in the BMW. I believe that's the M6. If again, it could be wrong. But right there behind the Mercedes, he's been there since lap 1 of this event. Got a windscreen full of that chrome rear bumper Mercedes-Benz. I wonder if that chrome paint was put on purpose, you know, just to shimmer in the driver behind you. Maybe give yourself a little bit of an advantage to get away. Well, anybody else, that's what I say it is. So David Martinez right behind him in car 300 in the BMW, just hanging in there nicely with the nice and tight with the AMG Mercedes-Benz cars in front of them. They're going to be a little dab of the brakes here through the left-hand sweep. You can run a little bit wide here, but not too wide. The game will penalize you for track limits. You only get a certain amount of warnings. You don't want to use them up this early on in such a long race. The BMW, you can see, doesn't have the top end of the Mercedes, but it is quite a bit better on the brakes there. So he is able to catch right onto the back of the AMG Mercedes. On board now with Dupree in the Aston Martin, driving for TX3 virtual drivers. Times aren't that far off qualifying, even with fuel loads, but the Honda and him having a massive battle. Honda only just getting enough space to run around the outside there. Aston Martin wasn't exactly giving him all that room. I think there was more room on the inside for him to have a go there. So making the wrong call and choosing the outside, but kudos to him making the decision and sticking with it. But definitely enough space on the inside line for the Honda to get past there. We see through this long, sweeping, fast section here. Aston Martin able to eke out a gap, on the Honda. So the Honda obviously better for the latter part of the lap in comparison to the Aston Martin. James Parker still glued to the bumper of Sakari there. Sakari stealing the win, or stealing the pole position from James Parker there, right at the last dying throes of qualifying. So James Parker, we know he's got the pace to run with him, and let's see if he can run with him for the duration of this race. You can toss the proverbial blanket over the two of them, and they've been like this since lap 1. So Kevin Sakari, Sauber Mercedes 1988 is his team name. So I'm paying homage to the 1988 Sauber Mercedes. Toto Wolff will be proud to have a look at this at the moment. 5 Mercedes in the top 5, and there is a train of them. Looks almost like a new Mercedes being delivered to the dealership at the moment, sitting in a bit of the word escapes me now. It's there in my head. I can't really think of it. But a flashing BMW there, throwing his lights at the final of the 5 Mercedes there. That is Spears, and I just saw the flashing of the lights from the BMW. So either giving him a hurry up or complaining about some sort of driving he wasn't happy with. I definitely think it's to give him a hurry up. They are losing the front group at the moment. So maybe Spears might be wise just to drop behind the BMW and allow him to bring him onto the front group. But you can see Spears is definitely holding these two up. There is the Porsche of Bianchi just behind him. So it is definitely holding these two up. That Porsche is looking ominous right behind the BMW there. We know the Porsche is quite nimble through the tight stuff, and it doesn't have a bad top speed. So a great all-round car. Although if the setup isn't right on that car, it does try to throw you off the circuit every chance it gets. So it is difficult to keep that car on the circuit, but when you can, it is quite quick. So I've been corrected. I did say the Porsche had a reasonable top speed, but it is quite a bit slower than both the Mercedes and the BMW in a straight line. However, the Mercedes seems to be the stronger of the three there, as we see it drive out of the slipstream of the BMW. Maybe he just got a better drive out, but he definitely was able to pull out of the slipstream of the BMW there. As we see the brights come back on the BM there, trying to give him a hurry up, time to get going, but losing the front group. So it'll be interesting to see if Martinez is going to have a look at passing going into this section of the lap here. So through 130R, the Porsche gets a wider line, gets up the inside of Martinez. He is contact into the chicane. The Merc obviously a lot earlier on the brakes than what Bianchi was expecting, and he has turned the Mercedes-Benz around into the final chicane. But the Porsche getting a great run out of 130R, able to get up the inside of the BMW, trying to get the pass done. And unfortunately, Spears collected in that incident and collected by the hard-charging Porsche trying to get past the defending BMW. So I don't know if that's definitely not intentional. It was obviously just a bit of driver error and to me a racing incident. the Porsche trying to get stopped for the chicane and get past the BMW, and unfortunately Spears was caught out by that, braking quite a bit earlier than the two behind him. So it's going to be interesting to see what the race stewards make of that and what decision they make on it. But unfortunately for Spears, that's dropped him all the way down to 12th place from his 5th place position. It has promoted Martinez. Well, Martinez had no promotion there, losing 1 place to Bianchi but gaining 1 from Spears. So not much of a promotion there for Martinez, but it has definitely promoted that of Bianchi. I do know Martinez has gotten back in front of that of Bianchi. So Martinez, I think, was quicker than Bianchi. It's just Bianchi getting frustrated with the Mercedes-Benz holding them up as they head into the hairpin. Though you can see that Porsche is a little bit more nimble through the tighter stuff, so it does bring him onto the back of Martinez. But Martinez definitely has a horsepower advantage over that of the Porsche. So the Porsche is quite aerodynamically slick. So it's interesting to see that BM is able to pull itself out of the slipstream of the Porsche. Mistake there from Martinez through that left-hander there as they head down towards, I think it is 130R as the next corner coming up. Behind them, though, it is Boris Despres and Gregor Schill. Gregor Schill from Coach Dave Academy, also one of the contributors to the setups of for Coach Dave Academy. He is sitting there in 8th place quite comfortably. Speaking of Coach Dave, we see him move up to 14th place, just behind Cormac. But Gregory Schill still under massive pressure from that of Franca behind him in the Honda. Very behind them as well. Also the Hondas. The two Hondas running quite closely together in 9th and 10th place. Having a look through this field, I don't see, or missing to me, is Alaric Ensslin, who is unfortunately DNF'd out of this race. He was our other South African. When I say our other, I am South African. I am supporting the South Africans. Sue me. Alaric Ensslin unfortunately DNF'd out of this race. He obviously had some property connection issues or something along those lines that unfortunately took him out of this event. Maybe an incident on track could have done it as well. So Alaric Ensslin unfortunately DNF'd out of this. But we are on board now with Sidemax Motorsport, Zachary Royal in the Lexus as we switch over to Sebastian Handler, another driver we know from, or I know from the Super Trofeo mini-series that took place recently and the SimGrid banner. It wasn't our launch party. This round, the 90 minutes at Suzuka, is the launch party for SimGrid and SimGrid.com. If any of you avid sim racers are watching this event and not competing in it, go check out SimGrid.com, get involved, get signed up, and come join us for some more wonderful racing events in the ACC, on the ACC platform. It is definitely one of the, wow. We're on board now with in P18 with Ramos. It looks as though there's quite a bit of a dice developing here. I think these are the drivers we saw go 3 wide at one stage into turn 1 of them being away. Arnold unable to move himself back up the field after his off we saw earlier. He's still down in 20th place, which he did drop actually further down, dropped down to 24th. So he has moved his way back up. I see in front of him is Ziring with a 5-second penalty. I'm sure I'll be filled in as to what that penalty was for, whether it be a collision or or track limitations. A big jump over the curb there for the Lexus in front of Ramos. Ramos going around the outside now. Oh, contact! A little bit of a hip barge there, and contact for Ramos. He's going to hit it straight across the chicane. He's going to have to give that position back. Or in my mind, he should be giving that position back. Doesn't look at it at the moment. So a little bit of flashing going on from Lexus that didn't know. Hey mates, I would like to have my position back, considering you jumped the chicane there. So I'm sure our stewards will be having a look at that, or the game will give them a warning for track limitations or no time gain. But there was definitely time gain there. So back to David Martinez in the BMW for Race 4 Cat Motorsport. He's been in a long-term dice with that of Bianchi in the Porsche. I see no penalty for previous incidents with the Mercedes-Benz, so the stewards obviously agreeing with me that was an unavoidable racing incident. I may be wrong, and there may be a penalty coming up later on. But Martinez in car number 300 keeping at bay the Porsche of Bianchi, but they are 3 seconds off the leading Mercedes-Benz train. That seems to have settled down there, with Parker 0.4 off Saklari, King a further 0.9 off them, and Honzik another 1.3 seconds off King. So that, Schill. So unfortunately, Schill making a mistake and going off the circuit. I did see him quite a bit, taking a lot of pressure from the Honda that was behind him, which was a Franca. So Franca maybe pressuring him into a mistake there, or possibly contact between the two, because Andre Franca was looking for a way past him. Be interesting to find out if there was contact or if it was just an error from Schill due to the pressure put on him by Franca. Josh Martin down in 17th from Thrustmaster Racing. He's lost a position to Gregor Panka. Panka, one of the developers for Kunos. In terms of having experience in this game, he probably does have a lot. So Gregor Panka down up in 15th. There is a rather menacing Porsche behind him. I think that Porsche is out of position, unless I'm looking at the incorrect car. So Nick Babin, a back marker, or the lap down, clearly obviously had to stop for some damage. He does seem quite a bit quicker than Gogo. So Gogo Panka up in 15th. It does seem quite a bit slower than the Porsche behind him. And the Porsche all over the back. David Perel, a 10-second penalty for the Rinaldi Racing South African. He's been giving a 10-second penalty. I wonder what that's for. Is it for track limitations or possibly some naughty driving from David? So obviously a bit of a mess between more drivers there. I don't have driver's name, only the driver's numbers, but a 3-way collision between David Perel and another driver, another 2 drivers, and that has given David Perel a 10-second penalty. That's not going to bode well for keeping himself or getting himself into the top 10, but it is a long race with another hour still left to go. So anything can happen. We know it's an hour-long race. Anything can happen in this race. Riding on board with David Perel, he's under massive pressure from Doricott in the Lexus behind him. And just behind Schill, who we saw make a mistake earlier. So, unfortunately, David Perel will be given a penalty for a bit of mischievous driving. So whatever happened, he was apparently to blame in accordance to the stewards. Wow! Deep around the outside into the last chicane and able to get it onto the apex. I don't know if Schill was letting him past, or if that was just some rather exuberant driving from David. Great move from him, moving himself from 13th into 12th place. That was spectacular, I must say. A great move there from David. It did look like to me that Schill maybe just moved over and let him go. Riding back on board though with Kevin Saklari in that leading position. They are back due low 2 minutes at the moment, so not running far off what they did in qualifying. I think they got down to 1:58. So great times from Kevin Saklari in the Mercedes-Benz, the Sauber Mercedes 1988 team, car number 191. Just ahead that of Parker, but Parker's kept that gap at, the screen must be frozen. There's no way that gap has stayed at 0.429 for 20 minutes. If it has, I'm absolutely blown away. But this train of 4 Mercedes-Benzes is just keeping on, tracking on, staying well ahead of the battle behind him, the battle between Martinez and Bianchi. This is that battle I was talking about, and it is still going on. David Martinez versus Bianchi. It does seem to have calmed down a bit. It's down to the gap now 0.5 of a second, but that could just be where these cars are different at different parts of the circuit. So where the Porsche might be stronger might be through this first sector, and the BMW will be stronger through this last sector. As you can see, the horsepower of that BMW just pull away from the Porsche, but the Porsche are a lot stronger through 130R. Into the chicane now, they're catching onto a back marker now. Will he move over nice and neatly for our duo to get past the duo we are on board with, having their battle? He does quite nicely, but Bianchi being clever and using an additional slipstream on the Aston Martin, but it wasn't to his benefit. Another driver pulled over to the right hand side. There looks like a driver exiting the pits. Looks like another Mercedes-Benz to me. Sorry, I lied. Aston Martin. A bit difficult to see from that far away. But they caught him in quite a difficult situation. It's difficult to get past any car here, never mind the back markers. So be interesting to see if he does move over. It's allowed Bianchi to get closer. He does move, but didn't stay in the way for long enough for Bianchi to capitalize on that slower car. Sorry, my mistake. It was a Bentley, not an Aston Martin. Bianchi right on the back now of Martinez as they head through the sweeps now at Suzuka. This onto the double rights as well. This double rights is quite tricky for most cars, but I think more so for the BMW than for the Porsche. We should see the Porsche right on the rear bumper of, he runs wide into the kitty litter. That would have been an opportune moment to have a go down the inside as they head up towards the hairpin, but unfortunately a mistake from him, not allowing him to do so. They don't seem to be dropping off the leading Mercs as much as I thought they were. The gap still stays at 3.6 seconds. So they're remaining within check of those Mercedes-Benz, of the Mercedes-Benz train, with just over an hour left to go. Gergo Panker still down in that 15th place, being bothered by a car that is a lap down. The Porsche there, the red and white Porsche, is a lap down on Gergo. Gergo, the Hungarian, is one of the Kunos game developers. I think I did mention that before, driving in the 778 Aston Martin. But having a quite nice dice there. Schill, I see, has dropped all the way down to 14th. So Doricard has gotten past Schill as well. So a lot of movement going on here in these last few places. David Perel seems to have got his act together, moved himself up into 12th place, and is putting the hammer down to get on the back of Killian, just in front of him there in the Aston Martin. But the Aston Martin of Gergo Panker doing quite well to keep himself within check of this battle in front of him, and does seem to have the pace on Schill. So the early pace we saw from Schill when he was running inside the top 10 seems to have disappeared slightly. So he's falling into the clutches of Gergo Panker just behind him. The McLaren moving all over the circuit down towards turn 1. But we're right on board with Rob Taplin, just behind Josh Martin, SimGrid's own Josh Martin. He does assist us with a lot of our streams and production. But look at the speed difference there. Rob Taplin right behind him, goes to the outside of the Lexus. It's going to be difficult to make it stick around there. He's going to have a go regardless. Unfortunately having to back out of it there. He's going to be coming under pressure now from the Ferrari behind. But Ferrari thinking better of it, just backing off so he doesn't run into the back of him. Some very, very clever driving from all three of these drivers just to keep it safe. Let's finish the race. Race hard, but race clever. So the Lexus just deciding to back out of that move, and the Ferrari behind them doing the same. So it's just allowed all three of these cars to stay in the race. Whoa! Big mistake there from Martin. Tapping down the inside. They're side by side as they head up. The next corner, I think, is a left-hand sweep into a right-hander. Who's going to have the courage to stay on the gas? Contact between the two of them. They're into the kitty litter, and that has allowed the Ferrari through. So the Ferrari goes up 3 positions. Josh Martin not giving up just yet, though. Next corner is a left-hander. He's going to have it. Neither is the Lexus. So a lot of moving going. That was always going to happen. All the movements being done on the brakes. It was always going to happen. So the drivers behind can't judge where you're going to be moving to, and unfortunately, Martin had nowhere else to go but into the back of Klaus Nering. Be interesting to see if there is a penalty given there. On board with the Greek Aristoteles, Aris is his preferred name. His preferred nickname is Aris. Sitting down comfortably in the 20th position, midway in the field. My one screen says 21st, my other screen says 20th, so I'm unsure of where exactly he is. But happily in the midfield there, running a nice clean race. Just behind quite a interesting battle in front of Josh Martin and Taplin. It continues now through 130R, and the Audi of Verway is joining the party onto the brakes now, into the chicane. We ride on board. You can see the damage on the back of Taplin's car. Josh Martin just letting the place go through the chicane. He's going to be wanting to into the pits, so choosing to get out of the battle and rather get the pit stop done with 58 minutes left to go. So he's going to make tires now last 58 minutes as we ride on board now with James Parker chasing down that of... I'm still amazed that the gap is literally still hasn't changed. It's 0.4 of a second after an hour, with King 0.9 behind and Honzig 1.2. These gaps are not changing at all, so these drivers are super consistent and just sitting at the same gap throughout this race. So Parker definitely got the distance, got a chance to get past, but rather just staying neat and tidy behind him for the duration. Sorry, I went quiet there. I was just getting a little bit of information from Michael Hamlet, my commentator, and my visitor here in my commentary box. He's just walked up the 13 flights of stairs to join here in the commentary box of Suzuka to give me a little bit of a half an hour review of what's happened in the race. Michael, welcome. How are you?
Very good. You enjoying the race, Carl?
I am. I must say my jaw is getting a little bit sore and my throat is starting to hurt. So I'm glad you've come to join me. You got a little bit of some stats for me?
Yeah, I've just been looking over at the lap pace from these boys at the front. The gaps are not changing much. Darren King dropped back a little bit. I think a few laps ago he had a bit of he lost a bit of time, maybe a mistake somewhere. He dropped back a little bit, but the gap from the top four really is barely moved. But I can see every lap that goes by the lap pace, it's getting slower as these tyres start to wear. These tyres should last at least an hour here. You can see the difference. See these lap times dropping. Last lap, Kevin and James are pretty much doing identical laps, which are about 8/10 slower than their bests, which was set on obviously much heavier fuel tanks. So even though the fuel's getting lighter, the tyre wear is impacting those lap times, but the consistency is terrible.
I know. I was actually, I think a couple of times during the commentary early on, I even asked you if the screen had frozen because the gaps had stayed so close together. The one thing that I do notice in this game is the race setup and qualifying setup does differ quite drastically because of the additional weight with the fuel. So the cars are almost set up to run full tanks. So when the tanks do, start coming down, the cars do start to change and handling quite a bit. So. Sure, tire degradation is one thing, but I think also the behavioristics or the characteristics of the cars change quite drastically throughout the race. In terms of pit stops, when do you think we'll start seeing our pit stops? I saw a couple of guys pitting already, but I think it was to get themselves out of messes. When do you think we'll start seeing the leaders pit?
Hard to say. I expect these leaders to try and go as close to an hour as they can, get as much of the race out of the way, and then you can have a quicker, because it depends if they want to take tyres or not. If you take tyres, you're going to have to do a 30-second pit stop. Whereas if you try and go about an hour on your tank, particularly the Mercs, which can struggle for fuel, they burn through fuel a lot quicker than some other cars. If you don't change tyres, you can have a much quicker stop, maybe half of that time. So it'll be the real winners and losers, I think, can come here between who actually makes the decision to go on new tyres and who doesn't. Because it depends how much you'll gain in the pit stop, but how much will you lose per lap in the losing pace by driving on an old tyre set. So I expect probably in the next 15 minutes to the half an hour, we'll start to see the leaders coming in at some point during that.
So, you were saying that they have dropped off in the last half an hour by almost 0.8 of a second. So, let's say over the distance, over an hour and 50 minutes, we could expect a drop of at least 1.5 seconds. The tank's not going to last you longer than an hour. So, should you pit, you're going to be losing. You're going to put it around an hour. You're going to be losing up to 1.5 seconds on those that put on new tires. So it's going to be quite a big gamble. Although you gain 15 seconds, you're going to do slightly less than 15 laps in half an hour. Yeah. So it's very much on the cusp of, are you going to make it on the old tires or not? So it's going to be interesting to see who takes new tires and who doesn't. Oh, a driver off there on the right hand side. I can't see who that is. But it looked like Aris is off. Aris running wide there through the double right, losing 2 places. So what was 19th place, he's now dropped down to, it looks as though, he's dropped down to 19th place. So he had made quite a bit of a move up to 17th there, but a mistake for him through the double right-hander, dropping him down to 19th and into the clutches of Burrows. Sorry to interrupt you there, Michael. But at the front, the gaps are actually closing up. 0.3 between Parker and Sakari, but up to, well, still 0.9 between himself and King. So the consistency of these four is absolutely mind-blowing.
I'm just taking a little flick through the channel here to try and get an idea of what some of the penalties are for. I see Desprez in the 237 cars picked up a drive-through penalty. Don't see that logged up. That's for just yet. It seems that the race control have got quite a bit of stuff they're going through, so some delay on penalties being issued and the reasons for them, but I'm sure they'll get to it. But what we can see so far was that a 5-second penalty to the number 65. That's Nyring in 21st place. He had an incident with car number 98 on lap 1. There was also a lap 1 collision between the number 99, the 911 and the 333, and that was a 10-second penalty for David Perel. That was on lap 1. Again on lap 1 between the 42, 696 and 69, we got a 10-second penalty for the number 42, which was Aris, one of the game devs of ACC. And then in lap 2 there was an incident between number 13 and 38. This was Josh Martin, and I'm not sure what the number 38 is here, I don't see it on the screen, but a 10-second penalty for the number 13.
Move the lead. Sorry, Michael. Move the lead now between Sakari and Parker. Parker trying to get around the outside of 130R. He's not going to make a stick, but Sakari running quite wide, going defensive into the chicane. This is going to allow Kings to join the party. Have they decided now, right guys, we've got 50 minutes left to go, let's start racing? Or does Parker think he's got the pace to get in front of Sakari and run away? Because like you said, the pace has dropped off, and it might be because of Sakari out in the lead. Parker now going for the outside into turn 1. We've seen this tried before. We've seen it fail before. Is he going to stay there? No, he thinks better of it. He's going to cut back to the inside though for the next right-hander. And again, thinks better of it. So they go back to line and stern now through the sweeps here. Very little time to pass here. Sorry to interrupt you there, Michael. But I just saw a bit of a move and a shake happening up front. Sakari's car not looking that great at the moment.
Well, this battle it's led Darren King right back onto the onto the 2 of these cars, and then you've got Jardier, P4, Honzik back there in 4th. He's probably watching this, probably licking his lips if anything goes wrong between Darren, James and Kevin. Jardier could potentially steal a win and run away with it, so I think Darren and Jardier, they've just got to chill back there. But at some point something's going to happen between this 4, you just know it. Someone's going to make a move at some point.
Yeah, either someone's going to make a move to get past, or there's going to be tears coming up soon, because they seem to be running a lot closer together than they did. Jardier, a YouTube blogger himself, so maybe just hanging back to give his viewers a good race. You know, he doesn't want to go run off in the front and you can't see anything. So Jardier just giving his viewers a bit of a good race in front of him. But he has definitely closed that gap. It's down to 0.9 now. It was 1.2, 1.3. So he's managed to bring that gap closer. But it's interesting to see that Parker was very racy behind Sakari, and then as I say, it seems he's still better of it. It looks like actually Sakari's put the hammer down to try and open a bit of a gap, and you can see that these cars are getting a little bit more out of shape as the tires start to degrade. I think you might be right on the half an hour mark there, that we might start seeing some pit stops. Parker might be actually looking to get a pit stop in and get some free air, because it looks like he's got the pace to run quicker than Sakari in front of him.
Well, the lap pace is interesting. Kevin, well, they're going to set some times now, so I'll have a look and see what comes over. But Jardier and Darren King were considerably quicker. It looks like Jardier's pit.
Jardier's pitted, yeah. So Jardier has pitted, so pretty much right on your estimations there. So Jardier just doing a little bit earlier than what we thought of the pit window. Maybe just to get himself out of this. He sees a mess starting. He'd rather get some clean air than fight with these guys. Martinez wasn't fighting with Franca at the time. He was fighting with the Porsche driver of Bianchi. Bianchi now down in 20th. So I wonder if that was a mistake or a pit stop. So quite a few people actually pitting now.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few pits, and Kevin was... He must have made a mistake or something happened the lap before. Previously, because he was the slowest of the 4, but then last lap he was the quickest of what is now there's 3. Now Honzik's gone into the pits, so pace between these guys, it's very, very close. Kevin was just about a tenth quicker than the other two last lap round, so consistent. I knew these guys would produce a great battle for us in this race. They're such fantastic drivers, and yeah, they're not disappointing so far.
No, to run this long, this consistent, and this close together is an achievement all in itself. But just having a look at the rankings here on my left hand side, I see a lot of drivers moving and shaking up and down. I mean, Perel's all the way up to 8th now, so obviously a lot of people have done a pit stop. Perel are deciding to run longer. These three deciding to run longer. Martinez as well, maintaining that gap at 3 seconds. So we mustn't forget about him. He's been very consistent there. 3 seconds off. He's been 3 seconds off this gap since the start of the race. He lost a little bit of time fighting with Bianchi, but I see Bianchi now down in 20th and Jardier in 16th. So Bianchi must have also pitted in the Porsche. I'm sure they also put on new tires. Another pit stop though there for King. King's also got into the pits now as well. So leaders are starting to pit as we speak. Right, so I went silent there for a second just to get some information and understand a bit more. If you look at your HUD on the left-hand side, if they've got a 1 next to their name, so if you look next to their number, there is a 1. That 1 means that they still have their pit stop to do, and the solid green block next to their race number means that they have done their mandatory pit stop. So, King from the lead has gone into the pits. He's dropped down to 10th place. He is, his thing hasn't updated yet though. He is currently in the pits at the moment. Quite a long pit stop for him, so he is definitely putting on tires as we speak. But it'll be interesting to see what the different strategies do for the different drivers, and I'd like to see what times King can push out on a new set of tires. Bianchi now, his last lap at 2 minute 10, obviously because of his pit stop. Let's see what he does now as he crosses the line. His best at 2 minute 0.5. He goes to a 2.2, but he is stuck in traffic, so his only pit stop not working out for him. He's dropped him into traffic. I would estimate that on a new set of tires, even with a full tank, he needs to run in the 2 minutes for this to work for him, to get an undercut on the front two or on Martinez, because I think that's who he's looking to undercut is Martinez. But unfortunately, dropping into traffic and right behind a Torvinen in the Honda there. So the undercut not working out the way he wanted it to. He needs to be running into the 2 minutes, but running that close behind the car in front of him is not. Whoa, a mistake from the Honda. So that's released Bianchi. So hopefully Bianchi can get those times down, get into the 2 minutes, and start grabbing back some time on Martinez. Martinez currently running
charging battery.
Right on board now with Cormac, Ryan, Meenan. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the Irish flag. Cormac, sorry guys, not very good with my flags, especially when they're in a funny 3D shape. So Cormac currently running in 13th place from Cormac GP, just ahead of Nyring. Nyring got a 5 seconds penalty, and Ascari, I can't remember. I was talking about that for a second. My bad. But Nyring with a 5 second penalty. We were trying to figure out what that is for. I think that was for a contact with another driver. We are currently at halfway distance. We expect that the front two, one of the front two has pitted. I'm trying to see who it is and where he is going.
James Parker's in the pit.
So James Parker is currently in the pit P2, just behind him Schill. Looks as though Schill has gotten out ahead of him though, which was, or just coming in front of him. I couldn't quite see from that camera angle. No. So yeah, Parker has pitted.
See where Sakari is. It seems Jardier,
so,
Darren King, and James Parker, they're all trying to go for the undercut.
So it looks like all the drivers except for Martinez and Sakari are going for the undercut. Martinez now, oh, mistake from Sakari. So the tires are starting to degrade and starting to get starting to get going with that switch off. I did reckon that the work is going to be worse on the tires than the BMW. So it'll be interesting to see if the BMW Martinez does run longer and doesn't put on a set of tires. I think, quick guesstimation, if anybody's going to go without a new set of tires, it will be Martinez. So it'll be interesting to see what these drivers are doing lap time wise after their pit stop. Parker has unfortunately hasn't done a lap yet. I'm trying to see who else if possible, I'd like to have a look at Honzik and Jardier and see what times he's turning out after having just done his stop. Because it does look like to me like he's in free air, so it'll be interesting to see what times he's gone down to. There is Jardier there. He's down to 201 dead. So it's half a second he's found so far on a full tank of gas with a new set of tires. So he might have possibly had traffic that lap as well. So it'll be interesting to see what he does this lap with clear air, because he's got about 2 seconds in front of him to the next driver. So James and Darren still on their out laps though, so pointless looking at them. So I'm going to be able to see what laps they do. But I am interested in seeing what Jardier is going to do in this lap time. Unfortunately, he's got traffic. It'll be interesting to see. We'll see how quickly he gets past, because I think this will be very important for his undercut aspirations. The BMW getting well out of his way and actually backing off. So that's quite kind there of our BMW driver there. I think it's Aristotle, the Greek game developer. Yeah, Aris is his nickname, Aris. But let's see what Jardier can do now for his flyer. 201 dead was his last lap. Could have been in traffic. Let's see what he does now. His best is at 2:03. He needs to run at 2:03s consistently now to get the undercut done. So Jardier has done the undercut successfully, because behind him is James Parker. So the undercut does work, but maybe you see, James Parker ran right with the leader, so it'll be interesting to see. Possibly just got a better stop, or Darren King only able to turn 2:01.7. He's down in 14th place. So Darren King, the big loser there on Jardier, because Jardier is quite a bit ahead of him. So it must have been tires. So Jardier maybe not putting on a set of tires to get the undercut done on James Parker and Darren King. So a set of tires doesn't change that much in terms of your pit stop. It's not as much that much longer as we thought it was going to be, because Jardier doing great with that undercut. It looks to me, if I just have a quick count here, although he only gained 3 seconds, but I think Saklari needs to start considering doing a pit stop. He is running at 2:01.4, so the rest of the guys are running about half a second quicker than him at the moment. Jardier with another 2:01 dead. It's interesting to see though. I think Jardier must have put on new tires to run at 2:01 dead. He must have put on new tires. So Jardier definitely, maybe just a better stop for Jardier than it was for Parker, or the fact that he stopped 2 laps earlier made that much of a difference, because the gap is only 2 odd seconds between James and Jardier. So I think only James past Aris now. Just behind them, it looks like Bianchi. So in fact, Bianchi also one of the big winners in the undercut, getting past King. King was lying ahead of Bianchi. So one of the big movers is Bianchi in the Porsche, going past King as well, and not far off James Parker. So the undercut definitely working in terms of the pit stop, but Parker does look very, very quick. I want to see what his lap time is. Have a look at this now. 2:04. He's running a second quicker at the moment than Saklari. So Saklari needs to seriously consider putting his car in the pits, especially considering he's a second slower than James Parker, who's moved his way up to 8 now, coming onto the back of another back marker there. It'll be interesting to see if he moves over. We don't want to hamper any laps here for him, because he does need to move quite quickly. We have a board now with Maximilian Vidi running at 2:02. His best pace at 2:01. So the guys are losing about a second. The longer they stay out, they are losing about a second a lap on the drivers who have stopped and put on tires. David Perel got into the pits now, coming out in 12th position as well. So a lot of drivers pitted. There's still 6. The front 6 still have not though. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they rejoin. Saklari running almost a second slower than Parker at the moment. So, and Jardier is under massive pressure from Parker, because Parker's brought that gap down to 2.5. So it'll be interesting to see what times Jardier is doing now that he's got free air. He's got 6 seconds of free air at the moment before he gets onto the back of Burrows. So it'll be interesting to see as they go through the next sector now. It'll update 6.5 seconds to Burrows, 2.1 to Parker. So Parker 0.4 of a second quicker in that sector. So in my mind, Parker is going to be the big winner here. Bianchi is 5 seconds off Parker. He was 3 seconds off Jardier before. So Bianchi past Parker, setting the fastest lap on the previous lap. Let's see if he goes quicker again now, because it was a 2-minute.4 last lap. What did he do this lap? It is a 2-minute.5. So he's consistently a second quicker than Sakari and almost half a second quicker than Jardier. Jardier's last lap only a 2-minute.9. So he's taking 0.4 of a second a lap out of Jardier and almost a second a lap out of Sakari. So I think Sakari under big pressure now to come and do a stop. If I was Sakari, I'd be stopping this lap. So Sakari needs to seriously consider doing a stop. You can see him running wide. That car is struggling on those tires, and he's going to have to put on a set of tires. It'll be interesting to see if maybe he takes the gamble with tires, but I see Martinez has done his stop as well. So Martinez is the big winner at the moment. Martinez in 4th place, and the leader who's done his stop. So he is the lead car that's done a stop. So he must have, you know what, I hedged my bets that Martinez would be the one that would do a stop without putting on tires. And I think that is how he got that undercut. He must have done a stop with no tires. So Martinez, taking a gamble, doing a stop with no tires. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone in the broadcast booth could tell me if he did put tires on or not. But I'm almost 100% sure he didn't. So Martinez, the big winner at the moment, and will probably go into the lead of the race unless Sakari tries the same gamble of pitting without tires. Sakari going on to do another lap now. So he's really starting to gamble with his lead at the moment, losing over a second a lap to that of Parker and half a second to Jardier. Martinez having a bit of a laggy moment there. I want to see what time Martinez does, because it'll be interesting. It'll be an indication of whether he put tires or not. So it says he goes over the line now. Let's see what he did. He does a 208, 210. The others were doing 208s on their first lap. So maybe he did put tires on. Oh, that's the out laps though. Sorry, that is the out lap. So it'll be from his pit box to the line and then to do a lap. So it's not really an indication of how long his pit stop was. So his next lap will tell us whether or not he put tires on or not. It'll be interesting if we can actually get the HUD display of the tires. So we're being told from the broadcast booth that tires were not put on this car. I did call it. I did guess it. He wasn't going to put on new tires. He's gone for the massive undercut. He's got it done. But the gap to the next lead car that has done a stop is Jardier. And it'll be interesting to see what that gap is at the moment. So Jardier, James Parker, quickest on the circuit. And at the moment, Jardier is 9 seconds off Martinez. So with 35 minutes to go, Martinez needs to hope that these boys aren't that much quicker than him on new tires. Parker all over the back of Jardier at the moment. So Parker, the quickest on the circuit. Sakari is going to hurt if he puts on new tires. I don't see that gap being big enough for him to save the undercut. James Parker almost looking like he's backing off Jardier at the moment. Doesn't want to get onto the back of him just yet, because he was right on the bumper of Jardier at one stage. So new tires is definitely the way to go, and James Parker is setting fastest lap after fastest lap every single lap. So Sakari in big trouble from these two. Yeah, so definitely confirmation that Martinez didn't change tires there, and Parker definitely did. Well, we can see from the lap times that he's turning that he definitely changed tires. He is the quickest on the circuit by quite some distance. A 2-minute.1 was his best, getting slowed down by Jardier, and he can still do a 2-minute.3. It'll be interesting to see what lap time Sakari is turning out. If we can just pop back to him, I want to see what times he's currently doing. But last we checked, it was a second a lap slower than what these two are turning out at the moment.
So Kaya, we're just using the application that is available to to all our viewers and to all the sim drivers, available on the Coach Dave Academy, which is the program of racing, which is a live telemetry that drivers and viewers can use. And one of the most valuable pieces of data that we've seen on this application on racing is the time that each driver is spending in the pit lane. And this will give us a good indication if they've been taking tyres or not. It takes 30 seconds for a tyre change, and obviously then the time in the pit lane is how long they were driving. The time in, to stop, to do the stop, and then to leave. Martinez was only in the pit lane for 49 seconds, whereas Parker was in the pit lane for 1 minute and 8 seconds. Jardier was in there for 1 minute and 7 seconds. So Martinez making a gain there of 19 seconds just by not taking tyres. The difference here is how much is he going to lose in laps over what is the remaining 32 minutes.
Well, having a quick look now at the leaderboard, it was a 9-second gap. It's now down to 8.8. So he's losing massive amounts of time with only 32 minutes to go. But to catch the driver in the lead and to pass the driver in the lead are two different things. It looks like to me that Sakari is going to run this until the half an hour mark. So I expect him to put the next lap. But he's definitely going to be undercut by all these drivers. So guys, that application that Michael was talking about, Michael obviously extremely fit, running up 13 flights of stairs to get to my commentary box. And he's not even out of breath. But that application you can get on the Coach Dave Academy website. It is coachdaveacademy.com, or follow the link through simgrid.com to go get yourself that app. It does provide some very insightful information for any driver there. But James Parker, Michael, definitely looks like to me to be the one hot shot for the winner. Okay, looks as though I've lost Michael there. He's obviously run down 13 flights of stairs again.
No, sorry, I'm still here. I was just trying to having a freeze on my broadcasting tool, so I was trying to make sure that didn't crash on me. So then we'll have to leave the server and come back in. So just making sure that still works. Yeah, James Parker's pace is still really good, but amazingly, Kevin Sakari, despite being on his old tyres, he's only half a second a lap slower at the moment.
So Sakari running at a... Look, he's running at a 2:01.2. We know Parker can run low 2 minutes. The reason he's not running low 2 minutes at the moment is because of Jardier. If he can get past Jardier quickly, he's definitely going to be on for... look, I definitely think the undercuts is a definite on. I mean, Parker and Jardier were right on the back of Sakari before they pitted. So only two drivers and left to pit, and one of them is our race leader from start to hopefully finish for him. But from the start has been Sakari. So only two drivers. Whoa, movement going on there. It's Cormac, and it looks like Jay Martin having a bit of a humdinger of a battle there. Martin, 10-second penalty for collision. We saw that on screen. And he was given a penalty of 10 seconds for that discretion. But it definitely looks like races on between these 3, 4, 5 drivers at the moment. Martin just holding out there from Cormac. We know Cormac quite a handy driver. He was in the Super Trofeo mini-series. Oh, a big first tail moment there for the bright pink Lamborghini. Just getting out of the way of the Ferrari there, so I wonder if he's actually just out of position. And it looks as though Cormac is all over the back of James Martin. So maybe Martin, also one of those drivers, taking the gamble to run on old tyres, because he doesn't look like he has the pace that he had earlier. So big dice are still throughout this field after an hour of racing. James Parker back on board with him now. He's running at a 2:01.4. He was running in low 2 minutes. So Jardier definitely holding him up at the moment. He needs to get past Jardier and get back to those low 2 minutes he was running before, as they start to catch onto the back of the ailing Ferrari, whose name escapes me. I just speak about him earlier. He was dicing with Perel in the beginning of the race and is now well down the field. But does well to get out the way, not to get involved in this battle. But it's about time that Parker makes his move, because I don't think if they stay at this pace, they're going to be the lead two any longer, with Sakari matching their pace. But hopefully their early stop and early pace on new tyres was good enough to get the jump. But if they can't get back to low 2 minutes, they're going to be under pressure from Sakari towards the end of this race. So Sakari needs to get, if he's going to get that stop done in this lap, it'll be interesting to see. VD in the pits though, the Honda driver has gone into the pits, so Sakari staying out another lap. So the estimation on the fuel usage of these cars wasn't as high as what we thought it was going to be. Parker could also just be saving fuel, not wanting to attack just yet. These cars, you can change the fuel map on these cars to allow for less fuel usage. And in fact, if you have a look down the straight here, he doesn't seem as quick in the straight line as Jardier. So maybe just saving a little bit of fuel. Maybe he's didn't put in as much fuel as the driver in front of Jardier, or he has a little bit of inside information as to how long fuel is going to last. On board though with Carmick, he's gotten past James Martin, and down the inside of him there, it looked like the gold Ferrari. Oh, contact between Martin and Cormac. Cormac a little bit slow out of the hairpin, and Martin just riding into the back of him. Then down the inside, looks like that Porsche there must be a Porsche out of position, because I don't see a Porsche anywhere near them in terms of the positions. And yes, he actually just backs out of all of that. Cormac running wide though through the double left, and the Porsche, when I say backing out, doesn't seem like he's doing it all too well. Getting away there of Nyring, who was looking to get past James Martin before that contact happened between himself and Cormac. So Martin involved in the walls at the moment, getting a little bit touchy-feely with the other drivers on the circuit. He already has a 10-second penalty for a collision, so it looks as though Martin just relinquishing that position to Cormac. No, just a little bit slower out of 130R there, and allows Cormac to have a look at him through the chicane. Cormac is definitely all over the back of Martin, so Martin may be one of those drivers that didn't put on a new set of tyres. He's running at a 204 dead, with his best being a 201 dead, so definitely struggling for pace at the moment as he goes defensive into turn one. His Aston Martin counterpart of attacking, trying to go around the outside. They make contact on the apex there. That forces Taplin wide and allows Nyring right onto the back of him again. So this dice is continuing, and will probably continue for some time longer with the defensive driving of Martin at the moment. So interesting racing throughout this field. Martin up into 16th from Thrustmaster Racing, but that car definitely doesn't look happy at the moment. Back to the two that are looking to be the front drivers after the undercut. It is Parker and Jardier. Parker just on the back, all over the back of Jardier. He's going to look for the inside line. Is he going for the inside? Yes, he is, but thinks better of it as they get onto the braking point there. He wasn't quite close enough just yet. Fanatec all over the back wing of Jardier's car. Fanatec, for those who don't know, is a supplier of sim equipment. And James Parker, he is also involved with Thrustmaster. So Thrustmaster, the competition to Fanatec in the sim world. So sim equipment, wheels and pedals, etc. Going back to the outside view of Jardier, it looks like James Parker is definitely quicker than Jardier, but just unable to get past him at the moment and get that undercut confirmed on Sakari. It's a bit too late now, so it's going to be touch and go to see if that undercut is possible. They're coming up onto back markers now. We see our marshals waving blue flags. The marshal's been out in the sun all day, been out there for over an hour now, so in need of some refreshment, I'm sure, as the Audi gets well out of the way of these two. Actually into the bushes there, going to go pick some roses for his girlfriend back at home, just to let these two get out and get past him. But the pace looks to be consistent now at 201 dead. It'll be interesting to see what Sakari is running at the moment after well over an hour of racing. So we expect for these tanks to last an hour. Sakari been out there for an hour and 6 minutes already, so he's going to be running low on fuel. He should be running low on fuel map. Parker all over the back of Jardier again there. So Parker definitely got the pace to get past, but just unable to do it at the moment. So Jardier under massive pressure there from Parker, the two AMG Mercedes-Benz. We know that the AMG is strong on the circuit. We've seen it already, and he's definitely looking for a way past. It's just where he can do it. There we saw a glimpse of Martinez. He's the lead driver that has done a stop. He did have a 9-second lead. It's now down to 5 seconds. So these boys are chasing down Martinez very, very quickly. And with 24 minutes left to go, they've turned it from a 9-second gap to 5.4. We haven't spoken about Martinez a lot. We haven't looked at it a lot. We did forget that this man was one of the drivers that chose not to put on new tires I just want to see what lap times Sakari is running. 201.4. He must be running out of fuel. Martinez currently 201.9. So able to match the pace of Sakari, well, 0.4 off with more fuel. So his pace isn't that bad. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I'm on my second or third duties for the night. So excuse the yawn, please. But James Parker 201.5 at the moment. So Jardier, if Parker has any hope of winning this race, he needs to get past Jardier. Jardier struggling for pace at the moment on a 201.5. I wonder if Jardier didn't put on tires and just had a slow start, because he doesn't seem to have the pace that he should have. Down the inside now goes James Parker. There's not much room there. Jardier closes it off, but he's gone tight. He's going to run wide, but so does Parker. These two are just slowing each other down. They need to get the hammer down and get forward. It would be clever for Jardier to maybe just to let Parker go and try and hang on to him to keep the pace going. They're down the inside now goes Parker. You're not going to get it done there, but get in behind him through 130R and have a dive down the inside for the chicane. He's still having a look down the inside. He's decided against it the last minute, and that's going to absolutely ruin his run down into the chicane. So rather stay in the slip going into 130R, and then you can get the move done going into the chicane. Trying to get the move done into 130R is not going to be helpful for your run down towards the chicane. So down towards turn 1 now. It's Parker versus Jardier. What is the gap to Martinez? They come over the line now. The gap is now up to 6.1 seconds. So Parker needs to get past Jardier to keep his hopes alive of winning this event if possible. Sakari still out on circuit at the moment without having done a stop. So maybe a splash and dash at the end on all tires is what Sakari is going for to maintain his lead in this race. If he does that, I think he may still have a possibility of coming out on top. We're right on board now with Sakari down to a 201.1. So he's able to maintain his pace, able to stay consistent at those low 201s, and is currently quicker than the two battling Mercedes-Benz AMGs of Parker and Jardier. Martinez is the big winner at the moment, moving up from a 5th on the grid up to 2nd as we ride on board with SimGrid champion. No, not SimGrid champion. SimGrid involvement? I don't know. Chairman, the guy from SimGrid, the guy from South Africa, David Perel, the Ferrari Rinaldi racing driver, the real-life racing driver as well for Ferrari Rinaldi team. He races in the Blancpain series as well as other GT series around the globe, down in 10th place, but he does have a 10-second penalty. However, he is 11 seconds ahead of the Kunos game developer Panker, so he should hang on to a 10th place finish from a 16th place qualification. So good driving there from David Perel to move himself into the top 10. On board now with Maximilian Viedi in 6th place, and back to James Parker in 4th. They're now running at 202.2s. So this is really not burning well for these two. They are losing time on Martinez. Martinez built the gap now up to 6 seconds. So this dice is currently causing them to run over a second slower than P1. So all advantage they gained is being thrown away by Jardier looking after that 4th place spot. And that may be where he finishes with Sakari still yet to pit. So I reckon Sakari running as long as he can on his tag, and then a quick splash and dash back out onto circuit on an old set of tires. I don't think with 20 minutes left to go, it would make sense to put on a new set of tires now. Parker definitely got to be quicker. Sorry.
I'll just come back with you, Carl. I just looking at all of this and how looking at the grid, seeing Sakari the only one into pit. I just think it's amazing that he's been able to go so long on a tank of fuel. He must have been running map 2. I think it's in the Mercedes. You only get 3 maps. So he must have been running the map 2, which technically is actually the race map. In order to get the fuel lasting this long, to not pit, truly brilliant drive by Sakari so far. And then it's right we say these two, Parker and Honzik, they're giving us a great battle, but they're losing time. They're losing a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, there was that 20 minutes in the beginning of the race where we saw Sakari lose a bit of pace. I think he dropped down by almost a second. So maybe that 20 minutes was when he was doing his fuel saving, for this strategy. So he's obviously had the strategy in mind all the way through this, and we do know he's quite an experienced endurance racer. They've just come off a 12-hour win at Silverstone, so he does have the experience in endurance. So maybe just making sure his fuel lasts, and then a couple of laps of punting in the times of low 201s, and then going back to a high 201. So he is definitely playing with his gaps, and obviously using the app that you mentioned to ensure he knows where everybody is on the grid or on the circuit. And obviously very good at reading his information he's getting given, because he's been playing with these gaps quite well. And these two playing with each other and fighting with each other is just not helping their cause at all. They're losing Martinez. Martinez is up to 6 seconds now. As we go back to Josh Martin, forever in the battle. We're going to have to call him Gladiator from now on, because he seems to always be in the battle whenever we have a look at him. But just behind him, that gold Ferrari looking menacing on the Aston Martin of Cormac. So Cormac under huge pressure from there, and just behind him is Andy Boardman. So Andy Boardman and Cormac always seem to be, there's obviously two magnets attached to those two cars that bring each other together, because no matter what series we've seen them in, it's been the two of them having a fat dice throughout the race. So Andy Boardman coming to join the party of this 4-race battle. But interesting to see how long Sakari is actually running. There he is now, leader coming into the pits. Kevin Sakari into the pits, car number 191. So he's decided to pit now on with 17 minutes left to go. So just under, I would say 9 laps, 8 laps, 9 laps to go before the end of this race. And Sakari pitting now. It'll be interesting to see how long he's in the pits for. Sorry, Michael, you got any news for me how long he's going to be in the pits?
I've just switched the camera to him now, so we'll keep flicking backwards and forwards. His car's just dropped. He's driving out. Martinez is only coming through 130R now.
So it looks as though
130R. Sakari has got a huge advantage. The lap's going to be humongous.
So Sakari running right till 16 minutes left to go on an old set of tyres. He clearly didn't put on a new set, because if he put on a new set, he would have dropped right back to just in front of David Martinez. But David, running a very similar idea to him, just not running as long in his stint, has put himself up to second place from fifth. And Sakari, massive lead of 24 seconds over Martinez. That will change in the next sector, because that was obviously him coming out of the pits and that. But these two tripping over each other, trying to do the undercut, have absolutely ruined it for themselves. James Parker running second the whole race, with pace to be quicker than Sakari. Darren King coming out of the pits now in 7th place. So either coming out of the pits or looking for a way past. So Darren King, oh no, Bianchi was running quite well as well. Bianchi was up to 5th place with the undercut. He tried to undercut Martinez. He's been sitting actually in 5th most of the race, but a 10-second penalty for him is going to drop him down 1, 2, 3 places to 8th place. So unfortunately, Bianchi dropping way down the field. Darren King able to get himself up to 7th place. He was one of the four Mercedes that were running quite high up, but unfortunately he was tagged by that of, I think it was Bianchi, going into the last chicane. But he's managed to move himself up to 7th place, and is all over the back of Vidi going into the chicane. So Vidi under massive pressure now from Darren King, Darren King. And this is going to carry on until the last throws of this race. Darren King, we know he's got a lot of pace. He ran right in the front most of the race, so we know he's got the pace to get past. It's just where he's going to be able to do it. The Mercedes is very strong in a straight line in comparison to that Honda. So virtual drivers by TX3, Maximilian Vidi, he's going to be under massive pressure as they head on to the main straight. But what blows my mind is the strategy of Sakari. "14 minutes left to go in this race. 5:22 p.m. here in Japan. We can see the sun starting to set, giving us some beautiful opportunities for some great shots. We spare no expense, friends, in making sure that you have some great camera angles. But back to this battle between Josh Martin and Cormac. Cormac getting the better of Josh Martin, and he's now under pressure from from Andy Boardman as they head through into this double right. Whoa, big slide, big jump over the curb. Beautiful shot there of the cars just jumping over the curb through the double right-hander. But under huge pressure from Andy Boardman there. Andy also in an Aston Martin, so cars very evenly matched. As we go back to another driver from Great Britain, it's Sean Arnold. We saw Sean Arnold racing with David Perel, who's now moved himself up into the top 10 early on in the race. But obviously a race full of incidents for Sean Arnold, as he's now down in 26th place. So well done the order for Sean Arnold, but also getting caught by this fight between that of Arnold, of King, and the way King looking for a way past the Honda there of Vivi. Andy Boardman up into 17th place. He's gotten past Josh Martin. So Josh Martin losing another place to Andy Boardman. So unfortunately, Josh Martin is starting to drop down the field. Andy Boardman, we can see some battle scars there on the side of his vehicle. So maybe a bit of rubbing his racing early on in the race. I'm very interested to see what times, if we ever go back to the battle between VD and a 7th place driver King. They're onto the back of the back marker now. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get past here. Unable to do so through into 130R. Let's see what his action's like coming out of 130R. Does he have the legs to get down the inside into the chicane? Not just yet. So King and VD having a massive dice, or Viday having a massive dice at the moment for that 7th place spot, for that top 10 position. If we have a look back at the battle between James Parker and Jardier, it continues with only 11 minutes left to go in this race. But the gap I said between Saccari and Martinez is 15 seconds. But what is interesting is the gap between these two Martinez is now down to 3.5 from 6 seconds. So with 11 minutes left to go, we could see a battle for second place ensuing shortly. We know that Martinez is not on new tires. We know he's on older tires, and they could be reaching the end of their life at the moment. The gap was 3.5. It's now down to 3 seconds. So half a second only in that first sector was found by Jardier. So Jardier settled into a rhythm and is starting to turn some decent lap times. What I'm interested to know, and I'm asking this to you, Michael, is what times is Martinez doing in comparison to Saccari?
So looking here, Martinez last lap 2:20. Saccari 2:02.3. And James Parker 2:08. So quite, James Parker, a second and a half quicker than Saccari last time round. 0.3 quicker than Honzik P3. So P1 and 2, they've not got the pace at the moment. Those tyres are really worn, pace down in high 201s, 202s. But the gaps at the moment, unless Parker can get past Honzik, I don't know if it's going to be enough to catch. Maybe they'll catch P2, but I don't think they're going to get P1. I think Saccari, he's got too substantial a gap.
Well, if you have a look in that lap alone, they've caught a second on Martinez. So it's down to 2.6. So they carry on at a second a lap with 9 minutes left to go. So basically 3 laps, give or take, 4 laps.
9/10 quicker than Martinez last lap. 9/10 quicker, both of them.
So if they keep the pace up, they will be on the back of Martinez before the end of the race. So what Parker needs, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree, he needs to stop fighting with Jardier, let that battle end, and look for the battle to get onto the back of Martinez.
Yeah, it looks to me that Parker maybe is just sitting behind, just keeping close, and they're both catching. At this rate, I think it's, like you say, catch up Martinez, and then let the fight ensue, and then see what happens in the final few minutes. I think they'll probably have caught Martinez up probably in the next 2 to 3 laps. It'll give us a thrilling final 5 minutes, I think.
Oh, definitely. But what absolutely blows my mind is that idea that the word escapes me now. The strategy, of Saccari, and to run that long in a tank with that good of fuel control. I mean, he must have done a bit of lift and coast as well. It couldn't have just been on fuel map to run that long and still do the times that he's doing on the set all the times.
I mean, this race has shown me why I'm not a strategist, because I looked at the gain that Martinez had when he came out of his pit, and I was thinking, Sakari's got to look at this and think, oh, I need to pit too. And in my head I was thinking, Kevin's got a pit, and he kept going. And actually, if I was a strategist, I'd be working for Ferrari, I think, because Sakari, if he had pit when I said he should have, then he would be in a, you know, facing a battle right about now. Where instead he's followed his own strategy and he's got a 16-second gap of P2. What is 18 seconds between, you know, losing a podium position? So Kevin was right not to listen to me, and I know his Racing Line Motorsport boss Stefano's watching. So ciao to you, Stefano, and I can see why you're the team manager of Racing Line and not me. I'll stick to my own job.
No, definitely. I think it's phenomenal strategy as you're on board now with David Perel behind the Aston Martin of Killian. But Martinez was, I think, five seconds off the lead when he pitted, and it's now up to 16. So definitely the strategy of running long and not changing tires is the one, as we look at a massive battle now with Torvinen in the is that a Honda? Yeah, Honda. They always look like Peugeots to me. I don't know why. But our buddy there, Josh Martin, seems to be dropping down the field in a massive way. Obviously, he didn't put on tires. Oh, forced a little bit wide there. He's going to rejoin the circuit, hopefully not taking anybody with him. And Jarko, unfortunately, dropping down to 20th. But Martin obviously not putting on tires either. Michael, I see...
it wouldn't look like it. Josh's pace is... It would not indicate that he changed tyres. But he seems to be having a little bit of a torrid time. He's picked up another 10-second penalty as well. He's got 20 seconds. I'm just going to think here, P3, the battle's on. They're going
so
for
Parker, down the inside into 130R, he's definitely got the inside line there. Make contact just to let him know that he's there. But, he cuts the nose off. So Jardier just not giving the space. They can't fight like this. They've got... This is not going to be helpful for anybody, because the gap is now 1.9 to Martinez. They've got little over 3 laps to go. This is not conducive to getting to the top 2. This needs to end this battle. If I was Jardier, I know I'm slower than Parker, let him go and let Parker bring me on to Martinez. That is what I would do in my mind. Don't know if you agree, Michael.
I think it's difficult at this point. I think, let me look at the lap times. Parker's still a little bit quicker. So we know if Parker can get in front of Jardier, I think the pace can pick up. But I think you're right, mate. Is this where you want to push it? 5 minutes to go. Only a few laps now. Maybe this is maybe you've got to roll the dice and just go for it now.
So Jardier obviously trying to maintain his podium position instead of thinking about possibly big traffic in front of all of them now as well. So traffic might be coming to play here. There's big traffic in front of David Martinez. We know his tires aren't good. We know how hard it is to pass traffic. So this is going to be interesting. Aris from Greece, our game developer from Kunos, is the first car coming up. So and there's a massive battle. It's not even
Josh Martin battle.
100%. So the Gladiator, which I'm calling it from now on because he seems to always be in a battle, Josh is stuck in a massive fight with all 4 of these cars. One of them is out of position, and then the leaders are going to be coming onto that gaggle of cars fighting. This is going to be an interesting 4 minutes and 30 seconds left of this race.
It could be spicy, really good, and I mean, can Josh possibly do anything? Oh no!
Big mistake. James making a massive error. I've been saying the whole race, stop looking going into 130R. You're going to... and the Honda's off as well. That Honda was fighting with Josh Martin. So Josh Martin involved in more of an incident with the same driver, Jarko. Jarko is struggling to keep the thing on the circuit even as he rejoins. So, James, I've been saying for the majority of the race, stop looking going into 130R. It's not conducive to your line. And that catching him out as he was trying to get past that of Jardier. So, it's hotting up in the front.
It's now a case of really, I think Jardier can have a little sigh of relief, and now it's a case of does Jardier try and go for it and get P2 instead of P3, and I see David Perel just got a drive-through.
So more problems for David Perel. He just moved himself up into 10th place, and now he has a drive-through penalty. Be interesting to see. His best time is now a 2-minute 0.5, which is only 2/10 off the quickest time of the circuit. So obviously Dave's struggling to get to grips with the track early on, and is now running at a strong pace, but it's all a little bit too late. He had a more than a second gap on Panker. He's lost that, so he's definitely down to 11th, but he doesn't seem to have a big enough gap on Doricott at the moment. Back to the front party though. Bianchi in 5th place, now coming up onto a massive battle of his own here, but also with a 10-second penalty. But and he doesn't have the gap on Vidi nor King at the moment. And there's only
10 seconds as well. Penalties everywhere.
So penalties throughout the field. Our stewards aren't messing around. We saw King trying to get past the Vide, so I don't know if there was contact between the two of them. But the gap now between Martinez and Jardier, 1.8, and kind of settling there. I saw drops of 3 or 4 tenths a sector. It's another drop of 3 tenths that sector. So Jardier hasn't given up hope yet, but with only one lap basically left to go, we should see. Michael, you'll tell me, is he on last lap or has he got one more?
Where is he at? Where is he at? No, there's going to be one more. He's just begun this lap, so this is penultimate.
So this will be penultimate lap plus one more. So the mess of cars fighting in front of Martinez is going to come into play. The Porsche getting well out of the way though, but that gap between himself and Jardier is now down to 1.4. All these cars moving out of the way for Martinez. Are they going to move out the way the same way for the chasing pack behind him? So Martinez, the big winner with the undercut, going from a 5th to 2nd, and the big loser, definitely James Parker, going, he was unlucky with traffic there, and Jardier was very lucky not to get entangled with the BMW of Aris there. So Parker, the big loser throughout here, never mind just in traffic and never mind just in pit stops. It looks like he's going to be the big loser throughout all of this.
Just look at his lap times though. Look what happens. He makes a mistake, he gets clear air, he does a 2:06.
2:06.
Jardier, 2 minutes.
Right behind Martinez. Jardier is on the bumper of Martinez. Sorry to interrupt you, Michael, but Jardier is right on the bumper of Martinez. So Martinez obviously making a mistake. They've got this lap and another to do, and we've got a 3-way battle for second place after 90 minutes. Josh Martin just getting out of the way. Is he going to get out of the way of Parker as well? It looks like it as well. So we've got a 3-way battle now, a 3-way fight for second place after 90 minutes. It'll be interesting to see what can be done by Jardier and Parker. Jardier and Parker are much newer rubber, and I think their tanks are just about as empty as Martinez. So it'll be interesting to see what these three can do. They've been taking 0.3 a sector, sometimes 0.9 a lap out of Martinez, so they've definitely got the pace to get past him. We know these cars are quick in a straight line, so this is going to be interesting to see what happens now with basically, making a mistake going into 130 Rs. Martinez, he's going to run wide. He's under massive pressure at the moment from these angry-looking Mercedes-Benz AMG cars behind him.
Just get a notification on the final lap. Final lap now.
So final lap now for leader. Parker is setting a blistering pace. Jardier is quite a bit quicker than Martinez. We've got one more lap left to go. Can Martinez hold himself out for second place? And Parker down the inside now of Jardier. He's decided out against it. So Jardier not having a go now. We see the BMW running wide, Jardier pulling right onto the back of Martinez. So this is going to be the race for second place. Through the sweep here, the Merc seems a lot better, especially on a little dab on the brake for the right-hander. Into the left-hander now. Yeah, that BMW is struggling on all tires.
This is the battle for the podium here, isn't it? Second, third are on the line.
So final podium positions here. We know that Saklari, we need to congratulate him, but we don't need to look at him. You know, he's going to be all on his own to cross the start-finish line. This is the battle we need to stay with from here till the end. It's well over the curbs there for James Parker, but this is going to be interesting down to the wire. They're heading up to one of the biggest passing opportunities on the circuit. Are we going to see Jardier have a lunge down the inside? Martinez covering it, Parker going deep to the outside as well. Ooh! Almost contact between Parker and Jardier. Is Martinez going to live to fight another day and live to take second place? Or are we going to see a Ayrton Senna Prost moment into the final chicane? We've got only a few more corners left to go. We know the Mercs have got better tires. They head into this left-hand sweep now. Double left. Martinez needs to get really on the power. He needs to get the run down the straight because we know he's got bad tires. We know he's struggling through 130R. We saw it in the last lap. But as we go to the final corner for Kevin Sakari, Kevin with an absolute stonker of a strategy. Just absolutely teaching all these boys a lesson with how to think about strategy. And we have to give some credit to his team boss. He goes over the start-finish line and flash the lights to say, congratulations to me, boys. But I showed you how it's done. Oh, around the outside of the last chicane. Parker's going to push Martinez through. Who's going to get it here over the line? It's the Mercedes-Benz AMG down the inside of Martinez. James Parker well behind him. But who's taking it over the line? It's David Martinez in second place, just ahead of David Honzik and Parker in third place. What a finish after 19 minutes of racing here for the launch party of SimGrid. And what a party it was. What an absolute race it was to watch. Michael, sorry, but I didn't even give you an opportunity to say anything through the last lap, but that was absolutely phenomenal.
Wow. What a... I mean, that was incredible. Almost 3 wide across the line, almost. That's... I mean, what a time to make a mistake, the BMW on the Martinez on the final chicane, but the power from that Merc wasn't able to hold on to P2. What a drive. Oh, car flying there.
Yeah, the guys aren't exactly being tidy over the lines there, but massive, loads of penalties throughout the field. So guys were racing hard. They didn't stick to let's just chill out for 90 minutes and finish the race. They stuck to let's go hammer and tongs, gladiators and shields, swords and shields for 90 minutes. But what an absolute stonker of a race. So Kevin with some great strategy there to bring himself home with the win there and 16-second lead. Then Martinez also great use of strategy to move himself up from 5th to 2nd. Then Jadir Honzik in 3rd ahead of Parker. Parker the big loser there on strategy. Bianchi finishing up ahead of King with a 10-second penalty. But big ups to Vide and Franca. They weren't as high up as they should have been, but they managed to finish in 6th and 7th place ahead of King with his 10-second penalty. Killian Ryan Meenan in 9th place, and Gregor Panka, the developer from Hungary, rounding out the top 10. Doricott in 11th, 12th was Burrows. Twardarski, whoa, what a name. Twardarski in 13th. David Perel down in 14th. Taplin in 15th, and Cormac ending out in 16th place. So, racing aplenty throughout the field. That was absolutely insane. Guys, we're going to chat to whoever we can that is ready for us in the interview shortly. But as a launch party, as a launch event, I think that was definitely an absolute insane race to watch. I was excited for an entire 90 minutes throughout this race, and hopefully I kept you guys involved and just as excited as I was. It was absolutely brilliant to watch. 45 laps in 90 minutes was done by Sakari. He ended with a 16-second gap. But look at that gap between Martinez, Honzik, and Parker. 16.7, 16.7, and 17 dead. Parker, I think, actually helping Martinez to get that second place with a nudge out of the chicane and just giving him the run down to the line, finishing just 0.06 behind or ahead of Honzik in the other Mercedes-Benz AMG. Wow.
A really thrilling race, wasn't it, Carl? It was spectacular to watch. From beginning to end, really. I
have to tell you, I'm absolutely blown away by that. If this is how GT3 racing is in the real world, I'm never mind me watching Formula 1 anymore. This is what I'm watching. Better yet, I'm going to be watching every SimGrid event from here on out, because that was absolutely phenomenal. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Please go check out the new website. It is the launch of our new website, www.simgrid.com, as well as Coach Dave Academy, www.coachdavacademy.com. I do have to, while I've got the opportunity, give a massive shout out to the production team at SimGrid. We are all volunteers here. They've done a brilliant job in giving me everything I need to give you the best commentary possible. Michael Hamlet, obviously, one of them assisting me, and quite a few guys in the broadcasting booth as well, giving me great information to discuss with you guys and keep you up to date with what's happening in a 90-minute race. It's not an easy job, especially with all of us being all over the world at the moment, so not all of us are located in the same place. So I am production value second to none from my side. I'm very impressed with everything that SimGrid's put together, and I'm looking forward to doing more events with them. So a big round of applause to them. And I think as a launch party or as a launch event to SimGrid, if you're not interested in joining SimGrid, I think you best go back to playing arcade games, because that was absolutely unbelievable.
Really, I'm still actually can't believe the ending that we just saw. The whole race, just looking at the strategy, looking at the lap times, and the fact that those guys at the top just never left each other alone. James Parker was always chasing someone. He's chasing Kevin Sakari P1 until he did the pits, and after the pit he's chasing Honzik, or Jardier as many people will know him by. Constantly he's chasing someone. He must be gutted that actually he went backwards, finished P4. It was P2 up until the pits, so he must be gutted he actually went backwards rather than forwards. But he must have. I'm sure he enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think as Parker, it would have been a good decision maybe to stay on the back of Kevin there, Kevin Scolari, and try and finish out and see what he's doing with his strategy and follow him. So I think maybe that would have been a good call. But also we don't know how much fuel that was put into either of these cars, to any of these cars. So maybe he had to make a stop. He was forced to make a stop. But just strategy, just making the worst of him there, and the inability to get past, even though he was the quicker driver by some distance.
I think it's really interesting as well. We saw drivers like Jardier making the undercut, and the undercut worked successfully. We saw the driver Darren King make the undercut, and it didn't go well, and then he got a 10-second penalty on top of that as well. And then we saw James Parker makes the undercut, doesn't work so well. It doesn't work for him as well as it does for Jardier. But then you see Kevin, who goes really long, and it works really well for him. And so I think it's really interesting that the undercut's working for one person, not working for another.
Well, you did mention that Parker was quite slow through the pit lane, so maybe just making a mistake on the pit and not gaining time when he could have. And King, unfortunately, involved in that incident with Martinez and Bianchi. So that's actually what lost him.
He lost a second to Jardier in the pit lane, and I suppose really, when you look at it, sort of what the battle that ensued between them after the round of pits, that second was crucial.
Yes, definitely. So they were only a second apart going into the stops, and when they came out, they were a second the other way around. So I think it made a massive difference. And also, it's interesting to see how Martinez was able to use that BM and how good that BM is on his tires, and just make that much of a jump from fifth up to second with enough gap to hold them off until the last lap.
I think he's shown today how competitive, how good the BMW can be. It's not great at some tracks. I know Barcelona, for example, the BMW don't go near it, but it's a car criminally underdriven, and I think he's shown today. You don't have to be in a Porsche or look, Porsche and Audi, probably the two most driven cars in ACCs, some of the quickest cars, and well, apart from Bianchi did quite well, but Audis were nowhere. And,
yeah, they really struggled.
Any car's viable in GT3. That's the great thing about it. And yeah, really, really fantastic performance from Martinez to show everyone, hey, look, the BMW, it can do well.
Well, I said to you off air that when you told me who was driving what, and looking at Aris. Yeah, Aris. Yes. Looking at Aris and the BMW. Since I didn't even know there was a BMW in the game, because in the leagues that we race in South Africa, no one actually uses it. But watching how Martinez went in it, I'm actually quite interested in maybe swapping my Porsche out for a BMW for a couple of events and seeing how I go, because you definitely made it look like that BMW can go.
Yeah, it's a very, very underrated car, but it needs a real good driving style, very smooth driving style to get the best out of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we've got any of our Tier 1 drivers willing to interview, which is a shame, but maybe they're exhausted after 90 minutes of pretty intense battling up and down the field.
Well, I must be honest with you. I'm exhausted, and I was just watching it, so I'm sure they are absolutely flat. David Perel also, he must be quite flat himself, driving with a slipped disc. It would have been nice to chat to him about some grid and what's going on further. But